What's up and hello again, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another show. I am your host from coast to coast, Mad Sherman, and you are watching One Man's Worldview. Now, don't forget to go ahead and hit that like button, smash it right now. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you know when I'm dropping a video. And most of all, I would love it if you share it with your family and your friends, because it will really help a brother out. Today, I would like to talk about the police state and why I think they have a martial law agenda. Now, we all know, as you can see at the beginning of this video, I was playing a video about the riots going around in America when George Floyd got killed by, what was his name? I can't even think of the police name. Derek Chauvin. That's who it was. Yeah. When Derek Chauvin killed George Floyd and all the protests was going on, and as you can see how the police reacted to the public. Now, I can understand them trying to keep law and order, but when you go to shoving women down to the concrete, making them bust their heads, and macing people and hitting them and beating them with nightsticks and everything, you taking it a little bit too far. Because I know all those people they assaulted are not guilty or don't deserve that type of treatment from the police. But the police always violating somebody's civil rights. Yeah. And they never held accountable for the wrongdoing that they do. As a matter of fact, I would say that the police state is probably one of the biggest criminal organizations in America. I mean, when it comes to forfeit seizure, where they take your property and take your money, your cars and everything, they rob more than actual people that does robbing for a living, which is crazy. And they're supposed to be a law enforcement, but at the same damn time, they always breaking the law. Now, how does that make any sense? It doesn't do it. And people, they get all uptight about when you say defund the police, abolish the police. Why? That same police officer will come to your house and arrest you. You don't know what's going on. Do a no-knock warrant, busting your door, and go to shooting and killing people in their beds and all kinds of stuff. When I look back on everything that the police does to black people, poor people, working people, it makes me wonder why this organization hasn't been revamped or renewed or reformed some other kind of way. And this stuff has been going on for a very long time. And you only getting a fraction of what you see right in front of this video, what the police does. This is only the stuff that's being filmed, only stuff that a camera's catching. So just imagine what the police is doing when they're not being filmed. Sounds kind of scary, doesn't it? And these people, just like if you was to join the military or the fire department or you become a doctor or a lawyer, you have to take an oath. And the policemen, they also have an oath, but they don't live up to it. As a matter of fact, they break their oath more than any other organization in the whole entire country. I mean, they need to get rid of police immunity. They're killing unarmed black men, which makes my skin a sin. And we all know that the darker you are in America, the more likely you would get assaulted or your civil rights violated or even killed. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that this whole entire organization is corrupt and is ran by white supremacists. And basically, if you really think about it, where do you think the police come from? Don't worry, I'll wait. Maybe some of you don't know that. Well, here at One Man's Worldview, we're going to let you know. Now, the first thing I want to do is share a graphic with you. And this graphic is the law enforcement oath. And I'm going to show you why it's the antithesis of what was going on in the front of this video here. All right. So with that said, let me go ahead and share my screen with you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is what I want everybody to look at and pay attention to. This is from the International Association of Chiefs of Police, Law Enforcement Oath of Honor. And it reads as follows. On my honor, I will never betray my integrity, my character, or the public trust. Yeah, right. I will always have the courage to hold myself and others accountable for their actions. No, they won't. They investigate themselves. And I will always maintain the highest ethical standards and uphold the values of my community and the agency I serve. Well, we all know that this ain't nothing but a bunch of crock, a bunch of words that means nothing. Because as we saw at the beginning of this video before the show, none of those policemen will fall in any of these things. Betray their integrity, their character, and their public trust. That's what they're doing. And talking about, I will always have the courage to hold myself and others accountable. How is that so when y'all do nothing but investigate yourselves? There's nobody holding you accountable. That's why we can't get police immunity. That's why police are out here shooting unarmed black men all the time. Always arresting and shooting and assaulting the poor people and working people. The only people that they protect is the rich, the elite, corporations, property. That is all the police is designed for. It is not designed to protect you. So let me stop sharing my screen. No, I would say, ladies and gentlemen, they are not here to protect you and me. And, it's always some type of campaign or something of the sorts to give the police even more money. Barack Obama has militarized the police. He has enforced the Patriot Act. He has also got rid of habeas corpus. You still got people sitting in jail right now waiting for a case that's been in jail for years. And see, the government right now has the power to go ahead and not even prosecute you, just jail you. And you would never see a court case. No due process whatsoever. You see, the police solves less than 2% of the major crimes in the country. And no matter how much money you give them or how much money you take away, the results are the same. I mean, there's been like a 500% increase over the last 20 years in incarceration. The United States have over 2 million people locked up in jail right now. That's more than China, more than Russia, more than Korea, North Korea. So anytime that you hear on the news and you're being propagandized about these other countries violating their citizens' rights and basically jailing people and putting them in prison for speaking out against the government, well, the United States has no part of that, no moral standing when it comes to talking about other countries and their police and law enforcement. As you can see, that when it comes to the police institution, they only target certain people. They target working people, poor people, black people, Spanish people. Hardly ever they targeted white people unless they poor. Now, I have seen examples of the police even attacking rich black people, assaulting them, violating their civil rights. So it's not really about the race, but it's about class. And there is a class warfare going on between the rich and the poor. And as I said before, the police are here to protect their property, to protect them, protect corporations, and not here to protect you and me. So what I want to do is give you kind of like a inside of how the police got started. And some people might have thought about this, and at the same time, some people might say, I thought that's how it got started. So with that said, let me share my screen with you. All right, good people. This article right here is titled "How You Start is How You Finish: The Slave Patrol and Jim Crow Origins of Policemen." This is also on the American Bar Association site and is written by Connie Hassett-Walker. Now, the article starts off reading, "Before the summer of 2020, hashtag Black Lives Matter. Demonstrations nationwide following the death in May of George Floyd from a Minneapolis police officer, which is Derek Chauvin, kneeling on his neck before the 2015 Baltimore, the 2015 Baltimore, Maryland protests after the death of Freddie Gray, while in police custody. And before that, there's the Ferguson, Missouri protest after the 2014 death or shooting of Michael Brown by the police officer and the lack of the indictment of this officer who shot Brown. There were the Los Angeles 1992 riots, and right here saying after acquittal the police officer for beating up Rodney King. Before the 1992 Los Angeles riots came the 1965 Watts riots, also in Los Angeles, after a African-American driver and his stepbrother were pulled over by the police. The Watts riots occurred in August of 1965. Days after the Voting Rights Act was signed, months after the Selma to Montgomery Civil Rights March occurred, and a year after the Civil Rights Act of 1964. So this is just a basically recent rundown of, some of the major events that the police are complicit and guilty of. I mean, they also did a no-knock warrant on Breonna Taylor's residence and bust in, started shooting at her and a boyfriend and end up killing her in her sleep. I mean, you got other things where even after the George Floyd protest, days after, they found a black man hanging from the tree. And this was in the same area in a park. These people didn't commit suicide on their own. And then, if you think about it, it's asking the question how we got here. There are two narratives on how the U.S. police developed. Both are true. You got slave patrols, militias of the Second Amendment. And then this says, more commonly known in history, the one most college students will hear about, and in the Introduction to Criminal Justice course, is the American policing can trace its roots back to the English policing. Now, the reason why I will say that this is propaganda, and like I was telling you before, the educational system is there to propagandize young people too. Now, it says it's true that the centralized municipal police departments in America began to form in the early 19th century, beginning in Boston and subsequently established in New York City, Albany, New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, Newark, New Jersey, and Baltimore. As written by Professor Gary Potter of the Eastern Kentucky University, by the late 19th century, all major cities had police force. This is the history that doesn't make us feel bad. And like I said, this paragraph is propaganda. This is what kids are taught in school. All right. Now, it's not saying that it's not true, but it's propaganda. They only cite the words that fit the narrative, so it won't seem so bad how the police got started. So let's go ahead and read on down this article. Be a little patient with me. I'm not going to read the whole article. I will leave a link at the bottom of the page, just to put that way all of y'all can, look at the article in its entirety. So let me go ahead. I'm gonna pick out some parts here. Like, while this narrative is correct, it only tells part of the story. All right. Police in the southern slave holding states follow a different trajectory. One has roots in slave patrols of the 17th and the 18th centuries and the police enforcement of Jim Crow laws. In the late 19th century to the mid 20th century, as Professor Michael Robinson, 2017, of the University of Georgia, the first deaths of the American black men at the hands of the law enforcement can be traced all the way back as early as 1619. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what, 400 or 500 years ago, when the slave ship Dutch man-of-war vessel landed in the Point Comfort of Virginia. So police has been going on for quite a while, and it started off by slavery. Then, right here it says, why should there be hostility to simply reminding people of the history of the events that already happened? After all, we Americans did this. Isn't owning one's action the right thing to do? Even if it make us feel bad for a while, the ugly past should be revisited, because there is still a problem with police community relations with the respect to African Americans. So what I'm trying to convey here is that the fact that the origins of the police comes from slavery, meaning that white supremacists had infiltrated these industries of control. Nazis that penetrated the police department, they penetrated the military, they penetrate and infiltrate the government. All these type of people with this frame of thought of ethno-state, or where it's just one nation state, one type of people. These people have actually infiltrated the government. I wouldn't be surprised if Joe Biden was a white supremacist Nazi undercover. He is the author of the 1994 crime bill that started the large incarcerated state. Now, they said that 2 million people are locked up in these jails. But don't you know that 40% of them are black? Yeah. So that lets you know where the concentration of policing is basically focused on. And my thing is, I think the reason why they arrest so many black people and put them in jail, because they know for a fact that once they do that, once they put a black person in the system, that's, they basically have ruined their lives. They can't vote no more. When they get out of jail, they can't find a place to rent. They can't go to school. They can't get a job. And see, the system knows this. And see, to me, the system should be designed to, if a person breaks the law and they serve their time in jail and get out, none of that stuff should be held against them like that. This doesn't do anything but, it's just a vicious circle. A person would end up back in jail, all because they can't find a place to live, all because they can't find a job to work, all because they can't go to school. Now, I have talked about this in my video talking about the industrial prison complex and education and poverty and how it all links together. I have seen where in LA, where you got policemen holding whole entire families at gunpoint that's living in a tent, trying to make them move. You see, the police has no empathy for a regular man or the regular poor person. They're here to control you. They're here to arrest you. They're here to harass you. And if you push them far enough, they're here to kill you. So with that said, let me jump out of here. Yeah, the police roots go back a lot farther than most people probably think they do. And it started off with white supremacists and slave owners. Now, I will dare say that these particular ideas had infiltrated our government, our police, military. Just like, in Ukraine, where you got neo-Nazis, they infiltrated the military and the government, and they over there trying to do a genocide against Russian-speaking Ukrainians, tried to start an ethno-state. They wanted to get rid of all of that stuff. Now, I would say that policemen are basically just maniacs. They lunatics. They crazy just like the elite. And I guess it's par for the core if that's who they protected. Now, what I try to do, I try to stay out of the way. I try to stay away from any type of parties or anything, get-togethers or any kind of thing that might attract the police to come to me, because I'm kind of like an introvert. I stick to myself. It's very dangerous for a man that looks like me to just be out all the time trying to enjoy themselves. Nah, I'd rather just stick around the house and stay out of the way, out of sight, out of mind. Because I'm gonna tell you something: the police will not target anybody really responsible for any type of criminal acts. They create the criminal acts. They are the criminals, and they always arresting somebody, and it's like your word against theirs. So you can go in the court of law, but I guarantee you, the court of law is going to show favor towards the words of the policeman more than you. They're gonna trust that police no matter how dangerous he is, how untrustworthy he is, how much of a lunatic he is. I think just about anybody who joins the police department is really messed up in the head, especially after knowing what's going on with the police, knowing the history of the police. And that's why I say it should be abolished. They need to start all over again with this. Yeah, you need people to catch murderers, and rapists, and people who commit violent crimes like that. But it doesn't need to be the police. It need to be some type of special security group in America that replaces the policeman. Because when you think about it, when the policemen are called to see about a situation, they just like hammers, and the only thing they see is nails. I have seen people had called the policemen for help and end up getting killed themselves. I have seen where people have called the policemen to help them with a mental person who has mental issues. They end up killing the mental person. I have even seen where a policeman was called about a person trying to commit suicide. And guess what? The policeman end up killing the guy who's trying to kill himself. So they didn't do that guy no good either. And this happens all the time, every day of every hour in this country. Somewhere right now, as I speak, a policeman is either harassing, assaulting, beating, or either killing an American citizen. Yeah. And so with this last thing that I want to show you is a video by one of my favorite people. His His name is Jimmy Dore. And here in this video, he's going to show you how crazy the policemen really are. Now, you have to excuse his language. He talks like an adult. We all are adults. So he does curse a little bit. Probably curse a lot. But he's cursing for a reason. There's a reason. Sometimes there's just a reason to just say bad words about certain situations. So I'm gonna stop talking and I'm gonna go ahead and play this video, and while it's playing, we're gonna comment on it. So with that said, let me share my screen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, just like I said, this is a compilation of maniac cops assaulting women and peaceful protesters on camera. This is from the Jimmy Dore show on the Jimmy Dore channel. I implore you to check him out, become a subscriber for him. He's a really good political commentator, and he just tells the truth just like it is. So with that said, let's go ahead and play this video.
So here's some more. This is all just from that's just from yesterday. They know they're on camera. So now I would challenge anybody to watch that video and tell me that it's just a few bad apples and that it isn't a culture of out of control, brutal maniacs. I would love to have someone debate that video. And they're trained to do that. They're not trained to protect you. They're trained to beat the fuck out of you and protect themselves. Because the cop's number one job is to make sure he comes home at night, which is not supposed to be his job. That's what cops say their job is. Their job is supposed to be to make sure I come home safe at night. They're supposed to put...
And that's when I'm talking about them betraying their integrity, betraying the public trust. And see, it's always propagandized on the news that the cops are the good guys. The cops are there to protect people. When is actually the exact opposite. They dare to harass, assault, and kill people, arrest them, put them in jail, ruin their lives. Let's continue the video.
Themselves in between me and danger. They're not supposed to be the danger, but they are in America, which is why we got to get rid of all the police departments and start over. So here's the officer. So Janya Zayer, if that's how you say her name, she says, this is the officer. He threw my phone before throwing me. As you can see, I was already backing up. All I asked was why. Watch this. So you see him coming. That's him here. And that is a guy in a white shirt, which means he's a sergeant or a lieutenant. He's the boss.
You gotta get out of the street. Get out of the street.
He goes, so I don't know if he saw right at the end. He goes, you got to get out of the street, get out of the street. And she goes, why? And he just hits her phone out of her hand. That's what happened right at the end there. He just hits her phone right out of her hand.
You gotta get out of the street.
So at the end, he hit her phone. You can't see it. Here's what happened next. Now, this video is sideways. I'll show you a better video. But what? So that's the...
And that's what I was showing at the beginning there, with a cop that shoved that little woman down to the ground as if she wasn't nothing. This is the mentality of these policemen. They're not there to protect and serve, even though it's printed on the side of their vehicles. They're there to protect and serve the elite. They're there to protect and serve politicians. They're there to protect and serve the government. They're there to protect and serve corporations. They're not there to protect and serve you and me. This is why the police needs to be abolished, because they're not doing the general public any good. They're not an institution that's of positive actions nowhere in the United States. It's just a bunch of thugs with badges and guns. Let's continue.
The guy who did that, he's a real coward. But here's another video of it. So he's going to come in from right here and just push her.
A big coward.
God.
Did you see that?
With the ranking official beside him.
Right behind him. So his boss sees what he's doing. And what does that tell you? That tells you they do this shit all the time. He has no fear of any repercussion. And his bosses approve of him doing this to a 100-pound girl.
Wait a minute. Let me get this straight. The reason why we're having all these protests is
because of police violence. And cops respond with what? Police violence. Why? Because cops are out of control, brutal maniacs who are recruited that way and then trained to be even worse.
Just like I was telling you, that law enforcement oath of honor doesn't even hold up true to the training that they receive. And see, 9 times out of 10, the people that do become cops are either people who've been bullied or were bullies. People who are attracted to things like shoving 100-pound women to the ground and letting them bust their heads on the concrete. And this little woman, this lady just suffered a medical condition right after he did that. When she got to the hospital, she had a seizure. But the cops don't care. They don't care about anybody, just like the government, just like the elite, just like the rich. They do not care about regular people. Let's continue.
And that guy came right from the battlefield. The guy who did this came right. You should not allow military people to become policemen. That should be a rule.
That's right.
That should be a rule. People, if you served in the military, you're not allowed to be a policeman. Because those are two different mindsets. And you see why? Why? I'm going to guess this guy has got his dick is about as big as my thumb also, by the way. Because what other kind of guy needs to be that? Steroided out. By the way, he's steroided out.
Yep.
Watch this. So here he goes.
Now, that just don't make any sense. I guarantee if this guy didn't have a badge or didn't have a gun and didn't have the authority or monopoly over violence, I believe that he can easily get his ass whooped. And the only reason why this guy is doing that because he knows that if anybody tries to stop him or defend that girl right there, that they're going to be arrested by their buddies, their friends. And as you can see, his boss is standing right there and he saw the whole thing. So how is that being ethical? Let's continue the video.
On her head.
Get his badge number! Get his badge number!
Now, why is it that every other person around there immediately knows there was something wrong with her, they have to take care of her, and that cop should be in trouble, except any of the other cops? Can you point to me where the good cop is there? Again, there's got to be 50 cops walking down that street. Where is the good cop?
There are no good cops. As you can see, neither one of them reacted to that man assaulting that woman. None of them. And this goes on day after day, night after night, year after year. It never stops. Because no matter how many times that you protest against the police, it's your word against theirs. Let's continue the video.
One. There are no good cops. Now, if you want to know what happened to her, she had a seizure on her way to the hospital. That's what happened to her. She hit her head on concrete.
Because she was thrown.
It's 90 because she was thrown. I don't know if you saw how she was thrown, but I'll show it to you again. That's a 300-pound, muscled-up, steroided, fucking thumb-dicked cocksucker violently assaulting a woman. And who is that guy? That guy, that's him. And he's got a torture collar on his dog. This guy's fucking fucked up, and he's a cop. This guy's fucked up, and he's a cop. Do they have a psychological exam? Yes. And if you're fucked up, they let you in. By the way, if you're too smart or show compassion, they get rid of you. They like obedient maniacs who are hopped up on steroids, who like to torture people. That's who fucking cops are. How many more videos do you need to see? And there they all go. There they go. They're a gang.
Look at them marching down the street.
They're a gang of They're a gang. That's how you would expect a gang member of the Crips or the Bloods to handle a woman who got in their face. That's how the NYP, New York's finest. They go through neighborhoods beating the shit out of women, cracking their heads on the ground, causing them concussions. That's who this guy is. That's who cops are. And who's his supervisor who's right there? Doesn't do a goddamn thing.
He's not going to do anything.
Again, this is who this guy is, Vincent D'Andrea. And he's worked at the New York City's mayor's office. He worked at the U.S. Marine Corps. Bad idea to hire them as cops. You see what happens? Do you see this guy's been trying to make up for his thumb dick his entire life? Studied at United States Marine Corps. Went to Ward Melville High School. Lives in New York. From Stony Brook, New York.
It's weird when people don't add, like, I'm an asshole in those bylines, right? They just should. He knows he is. He's proud he's an asshole, by the way.
That's him, D'Andrea. Officer D'Andrea from the 73rd Precinct violently shoved a protest. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I want to know the name of the supervisor.
Where's the supervisor?
He's right there.
You know what? I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. What happened to these people who did this stuff to occupy people is they got vacation days taken away.
Oh, and the city has to pay for the lawsuits.
That's right. So if I did that to him, if I was walking down the street and I pushed him hard enough where he tripped and hit his head and had a concussion, do you think they would take a vacation day away from me? And so now.
And that's one thing about it, ladies and gentlemen. If the police get sued by somebody by wrongful arrest or assault or anything like that, the police department doesn't pay for it. Guess who pays for it? You, the taxpayer, the working person. That's who pays for it. And at the same time, your taxes paying their paychecks. So you tell me how this is not a criminal, corrupt organization that needs to be abolished. Let's continue.
Now, if you witness that, are you supposed to go beat the fucking shit out of that cop? Because that's what the cop would do to you if you did it to him.
Yep.
Again, there's video after video after video just from yesterday. People protesting about police violence, and police are so out of control maniacs that they commit violence on them during a protest about police violence. So I'll show you some more. Watch this. This was in, I think, Atlanta. That's what you would expect a gang member to do. That's what you would expect a member of, like, a criminal or like a robber or a thug or a guy in the mafia. That's how you would expect a guy in the Crips to handle this situation.
Or a punk ass.
No, that's a guy. You're trained to do that? You're trained to do that? He's trained. This is a woman. 3 cops. You can't restrain a woman. So the people would say, well, Jimmy, she hit the cop. What are they supposed to do? Well, right there, he's supposed to restrain her. Do you see that?
They're supposed to learn how to de-escalate.
So what he's supposed to do is restrain her and arrest her.
There's 3 men.
That's
He's
it.
supposed to restrain her and arrest her. That's his duty. His duty is to restrain her and arrest her, not fucking escalate the violence, which is what he does.
And Jimmy, knows what he's talking about. He's not going to particularly point it out, but his father is a cop, or was a cop. He's a retired cop. He's 94 years old, retired, and still living. His brothers were a cop. He had friends in his neighborhoods where were cops. And he said all the time, they nice to him. That's about it. So he knows cops. So if I was you, I would listen. Let's finish up looking at the parts of the video that I need y'all to let's see.
He escalates the violence and sucker punches a woman from behind. He could have easily just restrained her. And he didn't. In fact, he's such a pussy, he can't even restrain her. He tries to restrain her, and she easily gets away. What a pussy this guy is. Watch this. See, he are you afraid of her? He's afraid of her. He is afraid to. Why can't he restrain this woman? And then he cold cocks her. And he winds up, too. And again, completely disregards her.
Oh, this is the first time I saw this.
And her head hits the ground. And he doesn't give a shit. And then people come out, what the fuck are you doing? People are like, and now they're afraid because they know if they actually try to help that woman, those cops will probably kill him.
Yes.
Yeah, you see they're reaching for their hips.
Look what they just did to her. You don't think they're going to shoot you? All those cops should be in jail.
They all get pensions, right?
They're all going to get pensions. Nobody's going to pay a price for that.
Like I said,
nobody. That's not how a cop's supposed to handle that situation. You have a woman slapping you, and you have to come up from behind her and cold cock her like a coward. Anderson Cooper will never call the cops out. That's why they're attacking the fucking CNN. That's one of the reasons.
Yo, I ain't gonna lie, I'm about to get the car, yo.
And now he's got his hand on his gun and he's pointing to stay away. I'll fucking shoot you. And this woman's laying cold cocked in the middle of the street. Here's so watch out, here's another one. This is all from yesterday. This is all from one fucking day in America.
It was constant.
It was constant. And there's millions more I won't have time to get to. Did you see that? You see the cop so the cops are beating on someone. The cops all just swarmed. Cops show up. They cause violence. Violence starts happening. Cops swarm on one guy, start pounding on him. And then another guy comes up and there's a guy standing there and he just rips him, throws him into a fucking car and bashes his head. Watch this. So this guy grabs him and just throws him. And that guy is out. And that cop doesn't even go over to him. That guy is out.
You hear it.
You hear his head hit.
That's because they're not trained to be that concerned about fellow citizens, working people, regular people, poor people. They only train to hurt you, to assault you, to kill you if they have to. That's why it's taking so many men to beat on one man. And then you see one cop grabs another guy from behind and slings him in the car and knocks him unconscious. That is not what cops are supposed to do. Cops are supposed to de-escalate violence. Instead, they bring more. Kind of Orwellian, if you ask me.
And that cop, what does he do? He turns around. I don't give a fuck. He wants to go back to beating on this guy. All the cops are here. I'll show you. Here's a better video of it. So something's happened. All the cops start going maniac because they start beating up someone over here. See, they really want to beat and they start beating the fuck out of some guy. Mm-hmm. And did you hear the guy yelling to the cops, "What the fuck are you doing? Get off of him. What the fuck are you doing? Well, I'll tell you what they're doing. They're delivering a beating to someone because they're on steroids and they've been trained to do this, and they joined so they could do this. That's what they like doing.
And that's what I was saying before, ladies and gentlemen, that, when I was I'll say about 12 years old, I had in my mind that I wonder what it would be like to be a cop. I was pretty interested in it. And then I started paying attention to him. That's when I started seeing, no, that is not a job for me. This job is only attracted to people who wants to hurt other people, not help them. Because the thing about it is, just like Jimmy Dore was saying before, if you are a good cop with good intelligence, then somehow, some kind of way, they're gonna get rid of you to get you off the force. They only accept maniacs in the organization. People who are willing to do things just like these cops are doing to regular American citizens, to protect and serve my ass. That's not what they're there for. And that's the reason why we have over 2 million people in jail right now or in prison. So I still don't understand, why would people argue that this organization needs to be abolished and there need to be something brand new created to protect people, working people, Black people, Mexican people, the proletarian, the socialists. There should be a way to create a organization that is where you got train people to deal with people with mental issues, people with suicidal issues, people that you just need to pull over, give them a ticket for speeding. But no, the cops are called for everything. And like I said before, if all there is the hammer, the only thing they're going to see is the nail. Let me stop sharing my screen. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the only opinion that I have about policemen is that they're just a bunch of thugs, a bunch of criminals with badges and guns that has a monopoly, a legal monopoly over violence in the streets of America. And they need to be abolished. Any type of criminal organization called itself enforcing law and order, and they never holding themselves accountable like they're supposed to, we need to start all over again. Just like Jimmy said, yes, we need protectors in the street, people to serve the public to where we are protected by people who wants to do harm to other folks. But we don't need the police to do that because they do enough harm. Now, don't they? So, with that said, I'd like to send shouts out to the families of Breonna Taylor, Freddie Gray, Michael Brown, Tamir Rice, Philando Castile, and George Floyd, and many others out there. You have my heart, and may God be with you. Until then, peace out, people, and I'm out of here.